Good morning, friends. New one on the bench this fine Monday morning. We did grind to a little bit of a halt here at Friend due to a tooling problem I've had recently. New tools are on order and are on their way. But even though the tools I'm missing are quite important, I can still do setups. So that is all I'm going to be doing until my new fretting tools arrive by the end of this week. And here we have in today a nice little Telecaster. It is a Squier, bought in by a new client. He wants to get this as well playing as it possibly can. I said, listen, it is not a Fender. We will not get it like a Fender, but we'll get it as close as we can. And we can do that. The problem is I have AB'd this next to my Fender American Standard Telecaster. And my Telecaster doesn't exactly blow this out of the water, but it is a lot better. But the reason for that is I've upgraded my FAST, my Fender American Standard Tele. But the pickups on this are surprisingly nice. The neck pickup sounds beautiful, nice and bluesy, and you get that twang from a bridge pickup. What would I upgrade on this then? Well, as much as I like this Squier necks, if there's a nice bit of, I'm not even sure if this is rosewood, but if it is, it's a pretty decent piece of rosewood. I quite like these Squier necks, but like I say, it is not a Fender. What would I upgrade? Well, one thing you always do look at is upgrading the pickups. Now, I actually think these pickups are okay. I'm going to suggest that we don't upgrade these pickups yet. I'm going to suggest that the owner of this guitar takes it away once I've set it up and plays it and lets me know what he thinks. Certainly the bridge pickup is probably not up to scratch. I would definitely change that. The neck pickup's fine, but if we're going to change them, I would go with something. I'd be looking at changing them, swapping them out for some iron gears, some nice 50s custom type. We do a hot 50s version, basically a 50s kind of tele pickup, but we wind them a little bit hotter and they look really good, and they're about £60 a pair, which is great. What else would I do? You could change to four-way switching. Not really much need to do that. I have four-way switching on mine, but I have a humbucker on mine, so I would do. I would definitely recommend changing the pots and the capacitor. Will make a little bit of a difference. You'll get a better sweep on some good pots. I do have some Bourne's tone pots in stock, 250k. I would very much recommend a pair of those in here. And with a capacitor, I'll go with a Mullard Mustard or a Mullard something or other, which I also have in stock. I would charge for that. I wouldn't really charge for work. I would charge £20 for the parts. That's £7.50 each per pot, and a £5 for the capacitor. So that's what I'm going to recommend we do with this. I'm giving it a complete setup. I've been across with a fret rocker. It does have 4 or 5 high frets, so I'm charging for the intensive setup. I'm also assuming I'm going to be doing electrics, also included in the intensive setup price. So the setup on this guitar is going to cost £75. The hardware is going to cost £20, and I'll be charging £5 for a set of strings. So all in all, 100 quid. Something else I'd look at down the line, maybe get rid of these saddles and put some steel pressed ones in there. These are some kind of nickel, not so much a tin pot metal, but they will be a sort of composite alloy or a soft steel. I would think that changing them out would be a good thing to do somewhere down the line. Maybe some satin steel ones would be nice, or some pressed steel ones would be even nicer. Squier Bullet, what do I think? They're not an expensive guitar. I mean, not an expensive guitar for a reason. You can certainly upgrade it. It certainly plays nicely. It sounds nice. It is not a Fender, let's be honest. And I am not a guitar snob. I only owned my first Fender, I believe, a year ago. I bought my first Fender after playing for well over 30 years. I said I'd never own one. I actually love them. I love my Fender Telecaster. It's one of the best guitars I've ever had, especially with the upgrades I've put on mine, where mine will do any style from clean to blues to rock to metal. These are not in the same ballpark. They're not as heavy, they've not got the weight, the body's not as thick, the electrics and the pickups aren't as good. Tuners are okay, as long as it stays in tune, that's fine. I just recommend on this for now, complete setup, change the electrics, put on some new strings, level the frets. If you want to change the pickups at a later date, I will not charge any more. I will charge him a straight £30. for changing the pickups, and he will buy the pickup. So it's not going to cost him any more whether he does it now or he does it later. On this, I will be doing everything, setting the radius on the saddles, matching the radius to the fingerboard, cutting the nut slots, tightening every nut and bolt, sorting out the electrics, giving them a clean, leveling some frets, polishing all the frets and treating the fingerboard. Every nut and bolt will be checked and tightened, all the electrics will be done, the intonation will be set, the guitar will be restrung, and it will go out in its best possible playing state that it could possibly be. That will all be done for 100 of your English pounds. If he wants the electrics upgrading. If not, it'll all be done for £75 plus £5 for a set of Diodario strings. So that is that. I'm going to crack on. I'm going to remove the strings. I'm going to come back. We're going to go across with a fret rocker. We're going to check the frets, see how many need leveling, and we are going to crack on. The client has not got back to me, so I'm just going to go ahead with the work. And how I said there are 4 or 5 frets needed leveling earlier, there are actually 10 frets with high spots. And I'm just going to go across with a fret rocker, and we're just going to check. And I've set the neck with this is what we call a notch straight edge. It's a straight edge with notches cut out, and it means we can put the notches over the frets like so. Just like that, and make sure the neck is straight, which it is. Just going to have a look. Already checked this. And then with the fret rocker, 4 ground flat edges, we can check 3 frets at a time. And if we hear a rock, we know that the fret is high in that area. So I've marked all 10. I'm just going to go across all of them, just so you know. That's 5. Just going to change around a minute. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 high frets. So these are going to be leveled. I'm not going to charge any extra for the other 5. I'm going to spot level all of them. No great shakes. Let's just see what I think this could be the owner of the guitar. Right, he just said okay, go for it. So we're going for the £100 setup. We're going to level the frets, we're going to change the pots and the electrics, we're going to set the guitar up, and that is going to be it. I am going to just basically spot level all these down the length and recrown and polish. It's not going to be a great a lot of work. Just want to show this. This is a key. These are the fret numbers that have high spots and where the areas are. And I have 3 areas, 1 on the outside, 2 in the middle, 3 closest to me. So we have fret 2, area 1, fret 5, area 2, fret 7, area 3, for instance. I'm sure you can understand that. So we're just going to check again. You'll notice I'm swapping fret rocker halfway through. That's because this fret rocker on one edge, I don't trust this edge because it's giving me a false reading. So I go to another one where I do trust that edge. It's not the right way of doing things, but it's where we are. And just to show, I'll do the same 5 or 6 frets with this rocker. And you see that they are rocking. So I have 10 frets to do. Like I say, I'm just going to spot level those using a flat file. I'm going to round them off with a crowning file, and I'm going to polish them up. I'm not going to film all of that because I'm a bit short of time, to be honest with you. I've got so much on the board. I'm actually round about 8 or 9 days behind. And it doesn't mean I'm rushing anything, it just means I have less time to film than I normally would have, and I want to get cracking and try and get caught up. So, back soon. Really simple when it comes to spot leveling. Just going to take a flat file, in this case my Swiss made Valorbe file. It's a number 4 cut, super smooth but super sharp. We always wipe clean. It's super flat, by the way, on one edge, which is fantastic news. And I've already done this one, and it's just a matter of where the fret is high. We'll lay the file down and we will just come straight across where it's high, like so, concentrating on that one fret. Once we stop getting any kind of resistance, meaning once the fret has filed this one down and is resting on these frets and these frets, Once the resistance stops, we know the fret is level, and it's just a matter of getting it recrowned. Very simple recrown on these frets. It's quite a soft fret wire, it's not difficult to do. We'll just blow away the filings, we'll just check that the fret is now level, which it is, and we will just take a crowning file, like so, and we will come straight across, and we will just, where we've flattened across this way, we're going to rebuild that crown. We're just going to go across with a crowning file and just round off that top. It will not touch the very top, so it will not remove any height. Do the same on this one. And that is it. That is the first two done. It is not super difficult. It's not a lot of work. We will have to obviously polish all of the frets. But that is nice and simple. It's why I don't charge a stupid amount for doing this. But that fret is now crowned beautifully. I'm just going to need a polish and that'll be fine. I've got 8 more to do. It won't take me too long. I'm going to crack on, get those done, then we'll move on to the electrics and we'll get the guitar all set up. Okay, frets are done, recrowned. I just need to oil that fingerboard and polish the frets. More about that later. I've taken the body off of the guitar. I'm not going to lift it up, but I'm going to show what I'm going to do next. And we have the control cavity out, just about. You'll see in there are 2 small pots, 16mm alpha pots, which in their own right aren't bad. They're not the best, but they're certainly not the worst. I'm going to replace them with Bourne's pots. Bourne's 250k pots. These are my recommended pots. I use these all of the time. Professional quality and grade. I've had to slightly alter the inside of the knobs to fit these splines, because these are an 18 spline pot, where the original ones are a 24 spline, but the knobs will fit. We're going to get a good press on there, it'll be nice and straight. So we're going to go, like I say, with the Bourne's pots. I'm going to desolder these, remove them. I've got a pair of these. I've been using Bourne's pots. I always used to use CTS. I'm going to show you this one. Some Bourne's pots. These have an absolutely fantastic sweep, fantastic, what's the word? Oh, well, a sweep, that's exactly what it is. These are a tone pot, so your sweep will be linear. So it could go from 0 to 10 in a gradual increment. So in the middle will be 5. Unlike a logarithmic pot, where the centre part will be around about a 2. You own it halfway till you get to about 7 or 8. I prefer to use tone pots on volume and tone nowadays, so that's why I'm recommending and going with these. Regarding capacitor, could use the same one. A capacitor is a capacitor. I do have some brand new Mullard ones in my electrics box over there. I think I will stick one of those in. Pretty straightforward wiring on this. 2 wires on the tone pot, 1 capacitor, and 1, 2, and a few earth wires on the volume pot. So we've got 2. Yeah, I can see how that works. I will take a picture of this before I remove anything, just so we know where everything goes. And yeah, pretty straightforward. So let me get on with that. I'll get my soldering iron out, and we will crack on, get that sorted, and I will come back and show you the results in a short while. So the electrics are all done. 2 nice Bourne's pots in there, a new earth wire coming down the outside, just plain copper, all the wiring's in there, new capacitor, Mullard. I didn't use a Mullard mustard in the end, just used a Mullard new old stock, 0.047 whatever measurement that is. It's the right one. So we're just going to put the electrics back in. Everything fits nice, everything looks nice, and there you go, and the knobs fit. So that's going to be beautiful. I'm just going to try and get that back in there. Does it fit? Of course it fits. Oh, that pot is just a little bit pushing backwards there. We'll get it back in, don't worry. And there you go, we're in. Just need to slightly move the pick guard that way. Didn't realise that. I didn't think that would cause a problem, that big pot in there. Just realised that. Back soon, I'll sort it out. Moving on, with the electrics all in, with the frets levelled and recrowned, we are going to treat the fingerboard with some mineral oil, specially formulated mineral oil for Palfaro, rosewood and ebony fingerboards, specially formulated. It does have a hint of lemon in there. People mistakenly call it lemon oil. It's not lemon oil, it's mineral oil with a hint of lemon essence in there to make it smell good. So we're just going to basically rub some into the whole fingerboard. A little bit more. What this does is this cleans the fingerboard and it treats the wood. It will semi-soak in, it will remove any finger grime, sweat or any of the gunk from your fingers. And it will soak into wood, treat the wood slightly, stop it cracking, dry it out. Something I recommend you do this at least once a year, maybe even twice a year. You don't need to leave it on for long, 10 minutes is fine. Then we'll wipe it all back off. But while we're waiting for this to do its business, I am going to polish the frets. Just bear with me a second. Just wipe my hand. Wipe the edges, we don't want any drips going down anywhere. You'll notice I have each end of the fingerboard taped off, always pick up taped over in the end of this, just so we don't get any oil on there, any oil in the pickup, and we don't get any iron filings into that pickup. Just as a matter of course, we're going to cover this pickup anyway. And what we're going to be polishing this with the finest grade steel wool. But I do need some fret guards. They're not actually fret guards, they're fingerboard guards. These basically section off your fret. Very simple device. Over the fret means I can polish the fret without scraping into the wood, so I won't put any scratches in the wood. See if we've got any. Oh, we've got some here. There we go. Already have some steel wool, finest grade steel wool, grade 0000, super fine. It's just a matter of going over the fret tops and just polishing in. Removing any grime off there. No need to do a high polish, I normally would do with a proper fret level. These that have only just had a little tiny skim. This will be absolutely fine. So I do believe this is a 22 fret neck. I've done 4, got 18 left to do. Okay, beautiful. And of course we're not scratching into the fingerboard because we have fretboard guards here. So that's it, so 17 more to do. Going to crack on, get these done. Once they're done, I'll wipe off the fingerboard oil. We'll get some strings on there. The client has requested a set of 10 gauge strings, so we'll be going with a set of Diodario XLs, XL 110s I believe, 1046 set. We're banging a set of those on, and then we can set about getting this guitar set up and getting it out of the door. Right, I've got the strings on. The strings are more or less up to tension. Now I'm going to show something I don't normally show, and I'm going to show you a full setup. And I've not touched the saddles, the intonation's not been done, the radius has not been set, the nut slots have not been cut. What I have done though is I've come and tightened all of these nuts that hold in the bushings for the machine heads because they were all loose. So I'm going to show you everything I do on a setup. Now, I do understand that the camera's a little bit far away for every single part of this process, but I am not moving it. And I'm not moving it because it's too much faffing about and I don't have a lot of time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you as much as I can on a setup that I do. So let's look at this guitar as a complete blank canvas. The radius has not been set, the intonation's not been done, the height above the 12th fret or the action has not been set. We've not checked the action above the 1st fret, the strings. The nut has not been cut, so nothing has been done. All we have done is we've leveled the frets, we've crowned the frets, we've polished the frets, we've cleaned up the neck, we've redone all of the electrics, and I've tightened these bushing screws on there. All you need for that is a 10mm spanner. You just need to make sure that these are all tight and nipped up, which they now are. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to check these threads on the tuner buttons themselves to make sure they are tight or loose enough. And I'll need one screwdriver or the other, a crosshead or a flat. I think in this case it's going to be a crosshead. So I'm just going to, by experience, I'm just going to know how loose these want to be. And I'm just going to, that one's fine. That was a little bit loose. Experience will tell you how these need to be. I'm going to do a little bit tighter than you probably would normally have them yourself. I don't like them too loose. These are not great tuners, a little bit cheap. I would recommend changing these in time. I don't think they're going to hold perfect tune. I did suggest to the owner of this guitar, if you want to upgrade everything, you're going to be looking at upgrading the pickups, the electrics we've done, upgrade the pickups, upgrade the tuners, maybe even the nut. That nut should be okay, it's a composite resin, they're pretty good. But anyway, so I've done all that. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to get the strings close to tune. So I'm just going to pluck the strings and see where we are. It's not going to be bang on. We're going to get somewhere close. You do find with a guitar laying down, we'll tune differently to a guitar in playing position. So we always do final tuning, the final intonation setup in playing position. So we're close here, just give it a little test. So we are very, very close there to tuning. Now what we're going to do is we need to stretch the strings. Can't emphasise enough how much you need to stretch the strings. Always get them stretched in. Give them a couple of stretches. There's no point doing intonation or anything until the strings are stretched. You don't have to go mental, but just get some. But you'll see that we need stretching. It's not up to tension unless the strings are in tune. It's once the strings have been stretched, then we set the truss rod, the action and everything else, and go to everything else. There's no point doing this if you've not stretched the strings in. Like I say, you don't have to go mental. G string, once you get past the G string, go to the B and E, you want to be a little bit more careful. I've snapped more top E's than I don't know what. Don't worry about any of this buzzing or rattling, we're going to sort all that out in a bit. You need to be a little bit more careful on the B and the E, because you will snap them if you pull too hard. So we're getting a bit of rattle. These slots are going to need cutting again because we've got a 1046 set on here. This will be cut for 942s. So these strings will be pinching just a little bit. Right, when I come to stretch the top E, I always put my thumb just on the F note there, and we're not going to go mental because it's quite easy to snap. Right, that is in tune. The strings are now stretched. We're up to pitch. It is now that we can start looking at the other parts of this process. One is my phone is asking for my attention. I'm going to go and check it because there's a couple of things I need to know. So I'm just going to pause the video and I'll be back very shortly. So I'm back now then. So let's recap what we've done regarding the setup. We have put the strings on the guitar, we've tuned to pitch, and we have stretched the strings in, we've tightened the tuners, tightened the bushings. That's good. So now we have the guitar tuned to pitch, we have the strings stretched. What we need to do now is we need to go and check the neck and see how straight it is. Now I'm looking for a little bit of relief, and what I would be looking for would be a measurement of 0.2 millimeters or 0.25 millimeters under the 9th fret. Now let me just explain to those of you who don't know what the heck I am talking about. This is called a notched straight edge. It's a straight edge with notches, and each of these notches goes over a fret, and what this enables us to do is to check how straight the neck is. If we have back bow that way, this will wobble. If we have relief, which is a bend that way like a smile, we will have a gap underneath. Now I do want some relief, and that gap, or the relief, that gap underneath the bottom of this not straight edge is called, well, it's called relief, and I like to measure that, and we measure that at the 9th fret or between the 8th and 9th fret in this position, and I'll be looking for a measurement of 0.25 millimeters. So I'm going to take a feeler gauge. This is my preference. It's not gospel, you don't have to set it to 0.25. I just set it to 0.25. There you go, 0.25. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this between frets 8 and 9, and it should go under, which it does. It goes under by quite a bit. So we need we've got too much relief or too much underbow on this. So we're going to ever so slightly just tighten this truss rod ever so slightly. A quarter of a turn on this is a lot. So there we are. I'm going to give this an 1/8 of a turn like so. And that is going to straighten the neck out. So where it's got that little bit of relief in there, it's going to straighten it out. And we're going to check again until I've got my required measurement. You might find we have too much on that little bit of a turn. Now there you go, can you hear this? It's just wobbling, look. That is 0.25. That is exactly where I need it to be. So we have now got the neck set with a tiny bit of relief. We have the strings to pitch, stretched, all the tension is set right. What we're going to do next is we need to check the height of the strings above the 12th fret. Why the 12th fret? It's just something we always measure. And I'll be looking for measurements of 1.5 millimeters on the high E and about 1.75 on the low E. And how we hold to the height of the strings above the 12th fret is by adjusting these saddles at the end, bringing them up or dropping them down. I may even turn the guitar around just to show you that, or just slightly change the angle of the camera just so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So let me just grab a couple more tools here so we know where we are. Right, okay. So let's determine what radius or what curvature we have on the neck or on the fingerboard. And I'm thinking it should be 9.5 inches. So we're going to take a radius gauge, self-explanatory. That is a 9.5 inch radius. And this is what it should be. So we're going to slide it under the strings, just check that. Could be 12, but I'm thinking 9.5. That is 9.5, that is perfect. So what we're going to do is, we're going to set these to a 9.5 radius, but we're not doing that just yet. We're just going to check the height of the strings above the 12th fret. Like I say, I'd like 1.75 millimeters on the low E, 1.5 millimeters on the high E. I have this great little tool here. You can measure these things. You slide it behind the string and this will give you a measurement, and you slide it till it just touches the top of one of these bars. Self-explanatory again. So I'm going to put the guitar on my knee to check this, and we are at 2 millimeters on the low E, and we are just about 1.5 on the high E. So the high E is set exactly where I want it, but what we need to do is we need to lower this one down. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. I've moved the guitar ever so slightly. I'm not moving it any more than that. I'm going to show you how we do that. Here we go. So, saddles here. I'm going to grab a set of Allen keys. I do believe I need a 1.5 millimeter Allen key to adjust this saddle. 1.5 millimeters. Let's have a look. And there we are. And there we are. What we need to do is, because it's too high there, if that's 1/4 millimeter high there, we need to drop it by 0.5 millimeter here. So I'm just going to loosen it off and just nip it back a little. And I'm going to measure this again. Bring it back to tuning. And I'm going to measure again. And we are now, we're a little bit too low, we're about 1.6. So I'm going to adjust that again. Can you see? You have to make do, I'm sorry. To say I'm not going to move the camera, and I'm not going to move the camera. So let's check, just keep checking. 1.75, well happy with that. Going to check this one, looking for 1.5. That is exactly 1.5. So we have, this will make it a lot easier to explain. We have the two outer strings exactly where we need them to be above the 12th fret. Now what we need to do is we need to set that radius on these. We don't need to touch these two now because we know they're perfect. I'm just going to level the high E one off. So if I turn back a quarter turn there, I turn forward a quarter of a turn there, and that has brought that nice and straight. So we know these two are right. Now what we're going to do with this little lot here is we're going to bring them higher than we need to be. Just a little bit higher than we need to be. We don't want to go mental, we don't want to snap anything. I'm going to loosen these 4 strings. You can't see me doing that, but take my word for it. I'm not just turning my hand off camera to make it look like I'm doing stuff. Quite an honest guy, really. So what we're going to do is, we're going to bring these all up higher than we need to be. We're not bothered about the tuning yet. So what we're tuning at in a bit. So what we need to do now is we need to match the radius, or this curvature this way, across the neck, with these saddles. And then that radius will be matched along the whole length of the neck. at the saddles, on the neck, and down this end at the nut. And we're going to basically match this radius in all positions. So we know the neck radius is 9.5. We know the nut is cut to 9.5. We know it's 9.5 down here. So now we need to make that radius the same at this end of the guitar. So this is why, now we've set these two strings, we'll put the radius gauge underneath the strings. And the strings, then we need to get these strings resting right on this radius gauge, and we'll know that then that radius at this end, or at the bridge end, matches the radius along the whole length of the neck. And that way, each string will be exactly the same height above each fret, all the way along the length of the guitar. So what I'm going to do now is, now I've got that where I want it to be, we've already got string 1 and string 6 set. All the other 4 strings are higher than they need to be. So what we're going to do is now we're going to just gently drop these down until we're on the top of this radius gauge. And the radius will be set. See what I'm doing here? That's looking good. Small increments. Well, I'll level these off when I get the height I need to be at. This one's a little bit iffy, this one. A little bit squiffy. That's looking good. One more to do. Okay, so now all of the strings are resting on this radius gauge there, which is perfect. This one's a little tiny bit high. Just going to drop that down a little, just a small amount there, and that is it. I'm happy with that. So now we have this radius, or this curvature, matched here, and matched down at the other end of the guitar at the nut, with a radius correct all the way along the length of the guitar. So that is now set. So again, checking that this height is right. Well, I know it's right because we've already checked it. Once that's done, all we need to do now is tune that guitar back to pitch, and we'll have the radius set. Okay, so that's a little bit, that's got a tiny bit low again. Just going to turn that a hair. And what I want to do before I do anything else is just make sure that all these saddles are horizontal. Now this one's lower on that side than that side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down a quarter and bring this one up a quarter, like so. It's now levelled off, and we've not changed any height because we've altered that amount and that amount the same amount, but just going in different directions. So they are all exactly that. This one's a little bit high again. I'm going to turn this down about 1/8 and bring this one up 1/8. And that is now level, and we still maintain that radius. So that's it. So what we need to do now is bring it back to pitch. So there you go. So we're now tuned to pitch, strings stretched, radius set on the nut, action set at the 12th fret, radius reset at the bridge. So the guitar is now in perfect playing position. Two things we've not done yet. We've not set the intonation, and we've not checked the height of the strings above, we've not checked the nut slots and checked the height of the strings above the first fret. Now, I'm going now to check, I'm not about intonation just yet, we're going to check the height of the strings above the first fret. And as a rule, or a very, I use some outlining markers, and what I would like here, I would like to set this at around 0.2, 0.25, and this at 0.35, 0.4. Those measurements are in millimetres, and they are the gap between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string. So first one I'm going to measure is the low E string. A bit higher than I'd like it to be. The next two seem to be pretty much okay. I'd like to be about 0.3 on the A and the D string, so let's go to 0.3. They're pretty much okay. The same with the G and the B, probably 0.25. And the low E or the high E, I'd like to be about 0.25. So we're going to cut to the 0.25 one, we're going to cut the E, the B, we're going to leave these three, and we're going to cut the low E. So we have three to cut. I'm going to pause the video just for a couple of minutes, just while I get my tools set up. We're going to come and cut these nut slots, but before I do that, we are going to set the intonation. I'm going to move the guitar again, just a little bit, and we'll proceed with that. Right then guys, we are going to have a go at the intonation. I'm just going to go shut this door so we don't get any interruptions. Right, so I'm going to explain how we do the intonation. I've just stood on there. No idea. Right, so what we need to do is we're going to play a note in tune. We're going to play the harmonic at the 12th fret. They should be exactly the same, should both be in tune. Then we're going to play the note fretted at the 12th fret. And they should all be exactly the same. If the fretted note is sharp or flat, we need to alter the length of the string. And we need to either shorten it by bringing the saddle to the left or lengthen it by taking the saddle to the right. And there's a very easy way to know which way you need to move the saddle on intonation. For instance, if the fretted 12th or the 12th fret fretted note is sharp, we move the saddle away and move it to the right. Now sharp is 5 letters and right is 5 letters. If the fretted note is flat, we move it to the left. Flat and left are both 4 letters. It's how I remember, it's how I've always remembered, and it works. So anyway, we are going to actually plug the guitar in to the tuner this time because we need to be precise. And we're going to do it all with it laid flat on the bench, and then I will reset it finally. The final setup will be done in playing position, which I will do off camera in a bit. We're just going to get it right close for now. So let's have a look. I don't know where it is because I've not checked it, but that's E, a harmonic. Perfect. Fretted. Perfect. Try the A. We're definitely pinching in the nut slots, so I need to carve these nut slots anyway. That is the last job I'm going to do. Fine. D. All good so far. So someone has set his guitar up. Now I know his guitar was bought used. So the guy who bought it off must have had the guitar set up in the past. So this is good news. Intonation set perfect. How wonderful is that? The intonation is actually set. I don't need to change anything. So right, that is brilliant. We'll keep it plugged in because now I'm going to do the final thing, and that is I'm going to cut the fret slots. And I am going to turn the camera around for this just to show exactly where we are. Just going to bring it down just a little because then you can have a better view. Let's just zoom in. Wrong way. There you go, that's enough. So, we have gone with a 1046 set of strings. It just happens that I have a 1046 set of nut files. And normally these are cut for a 942 gauge set of strings. So we need to flare open these nut slots. So what we're going to do is we have 3 files here and each has 2 cuts. This is a 1026. This is a 1746 and this is a 1336. So you've got 10, 13, 17, 26, 36, 46, which is the gauges of a 1046 set of strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the first file this one, we already know that this string is high, so I'm going to take my feeler gauge. I'm going to explain all of this. I'm going to do the rest of it off camera, but I'm going to take a feeler gauge, 0.4 millimeters, which is this one. I like a nice big gap on the low E because it's going to rattle more. So a little bit higher. So what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. We're going to, one, we're going to widen this slot, and two, we're going to cut it a tiny bit deeper. But to widen, we're just going to, see, that's really causing some resistance there. But we're just going to, there you go. And we're just going to flare it wide. So we're going to go at an angle and flare it open. And that is it. And we are going to put a string back in. That string now fits beautifully in that slot. It's not pinching anymore. Still a little bit high, so we are going to recut. Again, I'm going to slightly angle this file just down toward the machine head there. And we're just going to flare wide. Don't go gung-ho. We don't want to cut too much away, because if we do, we'll be replacing that knot, and that will take us time, and time costs us money. Just buzzing there. I could get away with 0.3 there if I wanted to. I'm going to take it down to about 0.35. So I'm going to take a 0.3. Still go a little tiny bit lower, just a little. And I think that is exactly where I need to be. Just buzz in. So next one, just buzz in. Just buzz in, that's fine by me. G string. Just buzz in, that's fine. Next two, I want at 0.25. So we don't need a lot of alteration. Like I said, we only need to do 3 strings. For 17 we can leave the B, which is a 13, a little bit high. I'll turn that 17 down just a nudger. It's a little bit higher than I would like it. So on this side we have a 46 and a 17. That's the 46 side, that's a 17. Cuts a perfect round, by the way, not a V. So with 17 we're just going to take slightly. We need to widen it anyway. We're going to widen these two in a minute, but we're not going to cut any depth from there. I'll show you that shortly. I know this 17 is really sharp, so I'm not going to go mental. It's no longer pinching. Just doing that and giving us that little bit of a sitar ring. It means we've not cut the slot straight, so we're just going to straighten off. It's a composite resin, this nut. It's what Fender use. There you go. We've lost that sitar ring now. There you go. Now we're going to cut these two. So we've got a 13 and a 10. I'm going to do the 13 first. It's a tiny bit high. Only a tiny. We need to flare it open more than we need to cut any depth. Just flare it open a little. The 10 is deep enough, but we need to flare it open just a little. So we'll take the 10, just going to flare it open. That's it, not cutting any, making it any deeper. That's good. And these two slots, the 39, the 36 and the 26, we just need to flare them open. We don't need to cut any depth. So the 36, this should pinch, and it is pinching. I can only push it one way. Just need to widen that up a little. Flare it open. Don't make it any deeper. Same with this one. Flare it open. It's not going forwards, it's only going backwards. And there you go. Just flare it open. And there you go. Cut no height off that. And that is it. The nut is cut. I'm happy with the height of everything. And that is everything set up. I'm going to move the camera back to where it was. We're going to finalise this video and the guitar will be ready to go. And here we are, guys, all done. And look at it. And it's a great looking thing. And this came in with the with instructions to get it playing as good as I possibly can. And I think I've done that. Let's recap what we've done before we compare it to what I consider to be the best Telecasters in the world, and they are Fenders, because I have one. So recap, what we've done is, came in for a setup, we have levelled some frets, we've recrowned the frets, we've polished the frets, we have oil treated the fingerboard, we've tightened up every single nut and bolt, bar two, I remembered, I just haven't done yet. The strap pins, let's have a little turn. So we've done every nut and bolt now. Also, we have upgraded the electrics, two Bourne's 250k pots with a Mullard capacitor. We've done the rewiring, we've given a complete setup, we've set the height of the pickups, we have radiused and we've done the intonation and done the radius on the saddles, so the radius matches all the way down. We've recut the nut. A lot of work. It's what I call an intensive setup. A regular setup, you get everything done, bar fretwork, barring electrical work. This one we have done the extra fretwork and the extra electrical work. For that I've charged £75. I've not charged any extra for putting the pots in. I normally would. For two pots and a capacitor I've charged £20, and for a set of strings I've charged £5. So when all said and done, this has cost the guy £100, including strings and parts. So he's got a good deal out of that. Now, regarding how it plays really, really well. It plays beautiful. The sound, well, I'll be honest, I don't think the bridge pickup's much cop at all, but these are meant to be played on the neck pickup, and I've played this on the neck pickup, and it is sweet, it's bluesy, it is fantastic. It's not quite as good as my Fender American Standard Telecaster, but it is right up there. Lovely, lovely blues tone. I certainly would be swapping out the bridge pickup, and for what it's worth, if you're going to get a set of pickups, you may as well go to Iron Gear and get some of these and get a full set, because the neck pickup will certainly be better than that what's in there, even though that's pretty good, but the bridge pickup will be a lot better. What other ways would I upgrade this? Well, I'd certainly upgrade the tuners. They're not brilliant. They will hold tune, but they're not brilliant. Certainly upgrade those, and again, I would upgrade the saddles. A tin pot kind of metal saddle there. I would go with something better, some satin steel finish there. So how does it compare to a Fender? Well, I'll be honest, it doesn't. It's a Squier Bullet. They're 180 quid new, aren't they? If you want to get this to play like and sound like a Fender, I'll be honest, you ain't gonna. It's not going to happen. You want a Squier Telecaster to sound like a Fender, you need to buy a different model to this. Don't get me wrong, beautiful guitar, looks fantastic, nice and cheap, out of the box, good guitar. But if you want a Squier Telecaster that's going to sound like, or give a Fender a run for its money, this is the one you want. You want a Squier Classic Vibe Telecaster in Butterscotch Blonde. You could buy those brand new for £339 with free delivery. They are the best of the Squiers. Good thing about these is, this is a Squier regular, it's got thinner body than a Fender. This is built, it's the same size as a Fender, same thickness of body, blah blah blah. It is just a really good guitar. Beautiful looking thing, beautiful finish, maple neck. I love them, I think they're fantastic. So I would always recommend the Classic Vibe. So, how does it compare to my Fender? It's not brilliant, it's not crap, don't get me wrong. The neck pickup is sweet, the bridge pickup is not that good. You're not going to get this to sound like a Fender or be as good as a Fender. It doesn't have the weight, the wood is basswood, it's thinner than a Fender body, the neck is thinner, the neck's more lightweight, the finish is satin on the neck. If I compare this with my Fender, the pickups are a lot better, the electrics are better. Don't forget I've upgraded mine. The neck on my Fender is amazing, the tuners are better, the body, the thickness, the weight, everything is, you know, we just blow these out of the water. But don't think for 1 second that this is a bad guitar. I think it sounds fantastic on the neck pickup, it sounds really good. You can tell the difference between this and a Fender, and you're going to. A good Fender will cost you £1,500, this is going to cost you under £200, so there's a lot of difference there, and the difference will show. That said, it is not a bad guitar, especially with the electrics now being upgraded and the frets being sorted out. But if you want to get a Squier as good as a Fender, you are going to have to buy the Classic Vibe, or even better, if you want a good type Fender guitar and get one worth upgrading, go and buy a used Mexican one with a maple neck and you will not go wrong. You may need to possibly upgrade the pickups, maybe not, but a used Telecaster, a used Mexican Telecaster, is only going to cost you about £300. It's £120 more than this, and it is a much better canvas than this will ever be. So there you go, Squier Bullet Telecaster. It says by Fender on it. Fender just owned them. It's not a Fender guitar, but a lovely guitar, great guitar to learn on. I'm going to let the owner know that it is ready to pick up. It's had a great setup. It's had some fretwork. It's had new electrics. It looks brilliant. It plays really well, and it sounds pretty good. What more do you want? The only way you could really upgrade this, there's a couple of ways. Change the saddles, change the tuners. They're going to cost you, it's going to cost you 60 quid. Upgrade the pickups to some iron gear is going to cost you another 60 quid. That's 120 quid, 30 quid for me to fit those things. I could do it in an hour. Maybe 50 quid labour on top of that. And that would be it, all done. Do I think you need to change the tuners and the saddles? No, not totally. They're going to make that much of a difference. This guitar will stay in tune well enough for you to play and gig it, so no problem. So there you go, Squier Bullet Telecaster, upgraded, new pots, new capacitor, new set of strings, fret level, complete setup, beautiful looking thing. It's cost the guy 100 quid including all the hardware. You cannot complain, but it is all finished, so I'm going to move on to the next project. My name is Victor, I am your fret friend. Just before I go, remind you of my website, facebook.com/ng17, that's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN, also fretfriend.co.uk. Before I go, remind you of my YouTube channel. It will really help me out if you give me a thumbs up, a like, and click subscribe and watch some more of my videos, because it will help my channel immensely. I would really appreciate that. It's what keeps me going. I love making these videos for you guys. I love the feedback. But that is it. Project is finished. So until the next one, boys and girls, as always, God bless you. Be good to each other, and I will see you next time.